All right, guys, here's the video all the Mopar guys have been waiting for, the paddle shifter stuff. Now, before we go any further, let's go over the actual paddle shifters. This is the first thing you have to do. You're going to source some paddles and mount them to your steering wheel. Now, Mercedes paddle shifters seem to fit the wheel the best. They have a bezel already in the paddle. And if you get the base model, lower trim paddles off eBay, you can get them for pretty cheap. If you get the nice aluminum AMG paddles, they can be expensive. Back in the day, all the guys used to use the AMG aluminum paddles, but if you want a cheaper option, these are a good choice. Now, I got some options here that I found on eBay just to give you an idea. And the best thing to look for is a central mounting bolt. One bolt right in the middle. That seems to work the best on mounting them. So what you need to do, go watch my two videos. I have two videos showing how to mount the paddles to the wheel. My first video, I actually mounted them out here and I didn't like it. So I redid it, mounting them more inboard here. And it just feels better having them there. So check those two videos out. Now the first thing I got is strictly for 05 to 7 LX Dodges, Magnum, 300 and Chargers. Basically these cars have the cruise control on the left side of the column, whereas 08 and up had the cruise control on the steering wheel. What this does is the 05 to 7 cars have a different clock spring, and in that clock spring there's two unused tabs that you can use to pass the signal wires down to the shifter. So the direct wire harness only works for those cars. This style steering wheel, cruise control on your left sitting in the car, and has to have factory auto stick. If you have those things, you can use this harness. So what I got is the steering wheel section and from the column down to the shifter. And that's all you need. Buy your paddles, mount them to the wheel, run this harness, you're done. Paddle shifters work, and they'll work just like the factory auto stick does. You can use either paddle to put the car in auto stick, and then you can shift, hold up shift, it'll put it back in drive, just like the factory auto stick works. Like I said, only 05 to 07 LX Dodges can use the direct wire harness. That's just it. Now for the 08 to 10, there's no direct wire option that you can do. I've tried it. I've spent weeks trying to figure it out, see if it's possible. I even bought 05 to 07 steering column, cruise control, all that stuff. Tried to use it in my 08. It does not work. The CAN bus system in the 08 and up cars totally changed. The way it integrates with the rest of the car, through the gauge cluster, the front power control module in the front, where your front fuse box is, that's totally different. 05 to 07 cars, it's actually two separate units. 08 to 10, it's one unit. Just a bunch of changes. So if you're trying to think, well, if I just buy the 05 to 07 column and everything and slide that on my 08 to 10 car, doesn't work. I tried it. So what's your options? Your only option is to buy the ZAutomotive transformer, and then you can buy this modified switch with this harness on it. Basically, the ZAutomotive transformer allows steering wheel shifting, and you can use the volume buttons to shift. So what we did here is we have leads going to the board inside the switch to the volume circuits, and then you wire this to your paddles. And then whenever you have it in auto stick, the volume buttons will shift, and also your paddles will shift. Put the car in drive, volume buttons work like normal, and the paddles will work like volume buttons, essentially. Now, the drawback of that is you got to fork over the money for the transformer, whereas the 05 to 07 cars, those guys don't have to do that. It's much cheaper. You don't need the transformer, but there's also some pros. With the transformer, you get more responsive shifts, whereas the factory auto stick can be kind of delayed. The ZAutomotive transformer will actually increase the shift response. Now there's still a delay, slight delay. It's not going to be like a dual clutch transmission or something like that. We're still talking an older 5-speed torque converter transmission, so it can only shift so fast. But you also get adjustable transmission shift pressures. You get fun stuff like the line lock and burnout mode. You get more stuff displayed in the cluster. So there's a bunch of pros to that. And the install is way easier because you literally mount your paddles, switch this switch in there, wire your paddles to these wires, install the transformer, and you're done. Whereas 05 to 07, you still have to install the paddles, but you got to tear apart the column, tear apart the lower dash, tear apart your center console, run the wires. It's just more involved. Now, If you like the idea of the transformer, 05 to 07 can also use it, as long as you have factory steering wheel controls. Then you can go the ZAutomotive transformer route, use one of these, and then your paddle shifters will work. So to recap, 05 210 LX Dodges with factory steering wheel controls can use this in conjunction with your paddles in the ZAutomotive transformer. 05 to 07 cars with factory auto stick can use this harness and direct wire the paddles right to your shifter. So I think that pretty much covers all the information on these two items. So let's go over the installs. Now for the direct wire harness for the 05 to 07 cars, you'll get your steering wheel harness, column to shifter harness, some zip ties, and a tap, and then also more taps and more zip ties. And I'll explain how to use all this stuff. Now 08 to 10 cars or 05 to 07, you'll get your switch, zip ties, and these bullet connectors. This allows the switch to still be removed from the steering wheel, having these connectors, so you're not direct wired to the paddles. Because if these were direct wired to the paddles, you would not be able to remove the switch, even though it unplugs there. You still need a way to disconnect it if you ever needed to remove the switch for some reason. Paddles, like I said, go watch my 2 videos on how to install these. Do that first. Make sure it's a project you want to get into, because you got to cut into your steering wheel. You have to drill into your steering wheel, both sides. So it can be a little intimidating to do. I've done it twice. It's just a custom install. You got to remember that. It's not a one-size-fits-all installation. Some things may go differently for others. It's just something to keep in mind. But if you watch those videos, everything's explained and may make it a little easier for you to understand. All right, we're going to start with the steering wheel switch option. The only things you need to do is right here and right here, you need to cut out this plastic trim piece in here just to allow the harness to feed through there and not get pinched. So just a little section here, a little section there, just to get the wire to feed through. So all we're going to do is feed our wires down through this hole, back behind the factory harness. And one thing to note, try not to pull on these wires. They're just attached to the circuit board under here. If you go yanking on these, it could tear the wires off the circuit board. Now, I prefer to go underneath this harness here, not on top, but underneath. So we'll just feed these under here, like this, so that it's underneath this harness, not going over top of it. And we can plug in our switch and snap it into place. And here we go. There's our harness coming off the switch. Here's the paddle shifter wires hanging out. And pretty simple here. You'll take the yellow and one black, and that'll go to the 2 wires for your shift up. Then you'll take the blue and another black, and that'll go to the wires for shift down. It doesn't matter which direction, which wire, which. The paddles are just a momentary switch. You're just completing a circuit. So it's not polarity at all. Yellow and the short black can go to either one of the shift up. Long black and blue, shift down. And then that's it. That's all you got to do to wire your paddles up to the switch, and then they'll function once you get the transformer installed and steering wheel shift enabled. Now, obviously, you want to use your butt connectors on your paddle shifter wires. That way you can just plug them in to the wires on the switch. And then use your zip ties. Make sure the harness is secured to the factory harness up here. You don't want it hanging down behind the airbag, and you don't want it to hang out the back of the steering wheel back here. So secure it up here. Use your butt connectors. Connect your wires. Zip tie it, and then you're good. Now I also want to mention, this is just my test version, so the version that you guys will get if you order one will be a little bit more refined. Less connections. You can see I have extended the wires a couple of times just to get the lengths right. So this is just a test example. The ones you guys will order will be a lot cleaner than this. Okay, next up is the direct wire harness. This is a little bit more involved, so this part will take a little longer. But the first part you want to start with is your steering wheel harness. While you have the wheel outside the car, your paddle is installed, you're going to want to install this. And the first thing we have to do is flip the wheel over and take this backing cover off. All right, to get this cover off, you got 4 screws in here, and the cover will just pop off. Just like that. And the first thing you want to do is, mine already cut, but there'll be 2 little tabs sticking out right here. You want to cut those off. You can kind of see where I cut it right there and right there. Just little bitty prongs that stick off the cover. Cut those, allows more room for both harnesses to fit in here. As you can see, this is right where the harness sits. So this right here sits right on there when you put the cover on, just like that. Harness is in there. This harness is going to sit in there also. So cutting those 2 tabs off makes more room for the harnesses to fit. So basically you want to take your harness like this, lay this in here like that, and we'll tuck these under like that. Put our cover back on. Making sure both harnesses are in there like that. And I put this heat shrink here and just show you the right area it needs to be. You flip it over, put our screws back in. So, the last thing you can do is connect your wires, and just like before, you're going to have a yellow and black for upshift, blue and black for downshift. So, one yellow and black to your upshift wires, doesn't matter which one's which. Blue and black for the downshift. And then there's one more connection you have to make. On your stock steering harness, 05 to 07 guys, you will not have this. This is for the cruise control. You'll just have a plug with 3 wires. And what you need to tap into is this middle white with green. This middle wire right there, white with green. Now, you can tap into the clock spring side also. It'll be the red wire in the middle. So all you'll do is use one of these supplied taps and you'll wrap it around the wire like that. And then once you do that, you plug this wire into that tap on the white with green wire. Again, white with green is the middle wire. On the clock spring side that plugs into here, it'll be the red wire. Use this tap to tap onto that white with green wire. Then you have this plug, and it'll plug right into it. And that's the only connections you have to make in the steering wheel at this point. Once we get it back on, this will plug into the clock spring. And that'll finalize the wheel, but we have a lot more to do in the car. All right, now for the car harness from the column to the shifter. You'll want to remove this lower dash panel, the kick panel, and your center console. I just slid mine back. Once I remove all the screws and stuff, that'll give you plenty of access to run this harness. All right, you can see here, I got my car converted to an 05 to 07 steering column setup with the cruise control over here and the older style clock spring, just to give you guys an example of how this is gonna work. Right here is the 2 pins that harness will plug into from the steering wheel. So again, in the steering wheel, you'll have these 4 to your paddles. You'll have this one to the white with green wire. Also, the red wire. It can be on this side of the harness also, if it's easier to tap into that red wire. And then once you're all done and you put your wheel back on, this will be the last connection. Now, I'll have these marked. Yellow is up. So you want the yellow up. And very carefully, you want to slide this in and make sure those pins go inside there. These pins can move pretty easily, so So take your time. There it goes. All right. Now, nothing is holding this in there. It's just a tolerance fit. So once you're done and you get everything finalized, a little zip tie right here just to hold this harness to this main harness will help keep that in place. But I don't see it coming out. It'd have to vibrate pretty good to fall out of there. So you're going to need to remove your column. You can leave your clock spring screwed into the column. You'll need a T30 Torx. And right under here is where the screw is. Just come in here like that, unscrew the screw. It will not come out. It'll stay inside here. So you just loosen it all the way, and you just want to pull this straight out. It's going to take some effort because the clock spring snaps on to the steering shaft. So it'll take a little effort, but just pull evenly on both sides and it'll slide out. All right, with the column removed, this is what you're left with, and this is what we're going to be messing with first. So good idea, if you have the telescoping column, loosen it, pull it all the way out. Then on here, I've already cut mine, but there'll be a zip tie right here going around this clip and around that harness. So you want to cut that zip tie first. That way you can remove this outer clip. So once that's cut, all you got to do is pull this like that, and it slides right out. Right there is where that zip tie would be. It'll wrap around this and the harness. So you'll have to cut that to get this off. Next, on this clip, we need to remove it from this housing. There are 2 tabs on the back. So you want to come up from underneath here and press them in on either side. Okay, and here, there's the tabs. There's one right there. You get to press in, and there's one right here that you get to press in. And that'll release it from here and give us access to the back of the plug where we have to insert 2 pins. All right, on the back of this plug, you see the 3 open spots on the left. Those are pins 5, 6, and 7, starting from the bottom going up. So this top one being 7, the next one down 6, and then one down from that 5, and then you have the green wire with black stripe. We're going to be using spots 5 and 6. Spot 5 will be for the blue wire, and spot 6 for the yellow wire. Okay, you can see our 2 pins right here. One's marked yellow, one's marked blue. Blue goes in pin 5, yellow goes in pin 6. Okay, you can kind of see the locking tab right there. And then on right there, the locking tabs. The tabs go to the outside of the plug. So meaning when you insert these, the locking tab needs to be on this side when you insert them in. Not up, not this way, not down, but facing this side of the plug. Again, right there, pin 5 and 6. 5 is blue, 6 is yellow. So once you have those pins in there, you can have the harness routed under there, and you can stick this back up. There's 2 grooves in the side of the plug, and it slides right up there like that, and it'll snap in. Then you can take this piece back, and it slides right up in there. Like that. And then I'll have a thick zip tie supplied where you can run it around here and zip tie the harness back to this cover piece. And then you want to run the harness down here, back behind here. Try to stay on the inside of this bracket. Come down through here and to your shifter. Now I have these on here as an example. On your shifter for 05 to 07, you actually have 3 wires. You'll have yellow, blue, and black. You'll use the yellow and the blue, just like we have been. Yellow, blue. Tap the yellow, tap the blue wire, connect the yellow to the yellow, blue to the blue. Again, this is an 08 and up shifter, so there's only yellow and black. So just pretend this is blue. You'll tap the yellow and blue on your 05 to 07 shifter. Yellow goes to yellow, blue goes to blue. Use the zip ties that I provide to kind of secure it, maybe here, maybe to there, and then a couple places down here along this, just to keep it tidy, and then you can put your interior back together. So once you have your interior back together, your column secured back to the steering shaft, don't forget to tighten your T30 under here. put your wheel back on, and just again, for example, obviously, like I said before, these go to your paddles, yellow and black to your upshift, blue and black to your downshift. You'll have your main harness, steering wheel harness connected to the clock spring, and then that's where the black wire will tap into. Again, you can do the red on the clock spring side or the white with green on your steering wheel harness side. Make sure that black is connected to it. Then all you have left is the clock spring connection for the paddles, yellow to the top, and just collect it in there. Throw some zip ties, maybe a zip tie on here for this part of the harness. Zip tie everything nice and neat up here so it stays up there, not behind the airbag. And then you're good to go. All right, as far as the steering wheel switches go, I'll be testing these in my car before I ship them out to verify they work and everything like that, so you guys won't have to worry about that. Second, pricing. We're gonna do 85 bucks for these. The reason for the price is these are not exactly easy to come by. And with that being said, we'll do a core program. So buy this for 85 bucks, I'll ship it to you. That price is shipped. And if you send me back your stock one, and once I get it and verify it functions fine and it's good in shape, I'll refund you the 25 bucks. Okay, I can start shipping these now. I have a few available. I can start making them and shipping them. So hit me up on Facebook, Messenger, or Instagram. Find my pages on there. Message me through there if you want one. Now, as far as the harness, we can do a pre-order on these. If you don't follow him already, Underdog Builds on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. He's going to be testing the first one of these. So he's just waiting for his wheel back from Zen Carbon Fiber. Once he gets his wheel, I'm going to ship him out a harness. He's going to install it and test it on his car just to make sure everything goes smoothly, the install and everything. I'm confident it'll work. It's just, I'm curious to see somebody else's input installing it. So once he gets that done, gets his wheel and get this installed and verifies we're good, I don't have to make any changes to the harness, then we can start shipping these out. Now, I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off this. I'm already hundreds of dollars deep into supplies, research, parts, all that stuff. So I'm just trying to make it easier for you guys to get paddles in these cars. I've got tons of people asking about it. So now you got all the information. If you buy one of my kits and you need help install and everything, or you have questions, just reach out and I'll talk you through it. No big deal. When SRT Dad was doing his paddles, we FaceTimed and I talked him through it, helped him with the transformer and everything. So also, if you go the transformer route, let them know I sent you there. And then also one more thing, I've talked to Zen Carbon Fiber and they offer aftermarket steering wheels for these cars with the paddles already installed, and they might start including my harness or switches. So keep an eye out for that. We're talking, but they want to see how the install goes first. All right, that's it. Like I said, any questions, just ask. Instagram, Facebook, comment in this video. I'll try to answer all your questions and let me know if you want one of these kits. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.